Okay. Sam Kahn wrote a column today how an 80-team, 8-division college football super league would have looked like last season. And I've reached out to Sam about doing tomorrow, and I hope he can. It was one of our favorite guests anyway.
Yep.
And we can talk about this and spring football, obviously, because I'm sure he's made some rounds already. All right, so here are the 8 leagues.
Okay.
And I apologize that this is going to be me listing 80 names, but I will go as efficiently as I can on this. We've got time.
Let's do it.
For now, we do. And I think this is the kind of content that, makes many of our viewers just go,
Yep.
So, and if you know what that gesture was, you're sick.
Everybody does. Everybody does.
Anyway, so the ACC would have been Florida State, NC State, UNC, Clemson, Duke, Maryland, Georgia Tech, South Carolina,
Yeah.
Virginia, and Wake Forest. The Big East, welcome home.
Resurrected.
Yes. Louisville, Notre Dame, and I'm sure Notre Dame maintains independence in this,
Right,
but this
yeah.
is the division. They got to be in a division in this new thing. Louisville, Notre Dame, West Virginia, Miami, Virginia Tech, BC, Rutgers, Syracuse, Pitt, and Cincinnati.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Except I've never understood the whole Miami aspect because they seem like the outlier so far down south.
Yeah.
That's what kind of always bugged me with them, even way back when they were in the Big East.
Yeah. I don't think the other one would complain about like a Wake Forest for Miami trade.
Right.
Although all the North Carolina schools are there, all together in the ACC, because that's the North Carolina Conference.
Yeah, pretty much.
There. Okay. The Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State, Indiana.
I like it.
All right. And I'm sure you're going, there's a team missing in there. The frequent flyer division.
Ooh.
This is the frequent flyer division. And this is mostly the Big 12 and then a couple of others. Missouri, K-State, Kansas, Utah, Iowa State, Northwestern, UCF, Nebraska, BYU, and Colorado.
That would actually be a really fun league.
Yeah, UCF is the huge outlier in that one, I think. UCF and BYU, Utah. But, again, you're trying to group these together as reasonably as possible. The Pac-10. Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Cal, Wazoo, and Stanford.
Are the Arizona schools?
And Arizona State, yes. Arizona schools are both in that one. Basically, the Pac-10.
What it was.
Basically, the Pac-10. That was an easy one for him to figure out. Now, the SEC, and you're probably wondering, hey, I haven't heard anything out of the state of Texas yet. We'll get there.
Yeah.
The SEC. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. Or, as we knew it before, the SEC.
Exactly. Because when did South Carolina go in? It was like early 90s?
Yeah, they were the last team before Arkansas.
Right.
So, and if you'll notice, I did not say Arkansas there.
You did not.
Now, here we go. And I knew when I was reading this. I said, the Texpert himself.
Yup.
He is going to do something that would make Texas people happy. Here is the Southwest Conference.
Oh.
Texas, SMU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU, Houston, Arkansas, and Baylor.
I'm for it.
Oh, dear God. Listen, I still want the Big 12 basketball matchups. Don't get me wrong. But, bro, the thing about all this is, it's so regional and it's so cool. And then you're going to, the way the NFL mixes it up, your non-conference is going to be awesome all the time.
It should be.
It's going to be awesome all the time. You're going to play these 9 games, and then you're going to play 3 others against the other divisions. And you're going to get an SEC team. Everybody's going to get an SEC team, Big Ten. I don't know. The more I hear about this, the more this is what I want to happen, because 16-team league I can deal with. It just feels they're so big.
Well, they're pointless because you're not going to get the matchups that you're going to rotate and everything. Like, this makes all the sense in the world. You get back to regional matchups and let's ride.
Yeah. And then the promotion relegation division, the top 10 G5 teams. Tulane, Toledo, Troy. A lot of alliteration there. Ohio, UTSA, Fresno State, Boise State, Coastal Carolina, Navy, and North Texas. And Liberty and James Madison would not have been a part of it.
That was my thing, is like with James Madison. But I understand with this going back to last year, how it's set up.
Yeah. So anyway, and then the playoffs, the 16 playoffs would have been Georgia, Michigan, Washington, FSU, Texas, Mizzou, Louisville, and Tulane. And then the other 8 would have been Oregon, Ohio State, Bama, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Iowa, and SMU.
That's fun. Like, that's what it should be.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's excellent work by Sam, which we expect nothing less of him.
Exactly.
But, man, and like, I'm not one of these like, oh, I miss the South. But like, now that like everybody is kind of back trying to push this again, like, now I will say this. None of those schools that are in the Southwest Conference that don't have to play Texas anymore miss them.
Exactly.
Like, they're not upset about Texas leaving, other than like the financial drop that, would have, kind of happened. Or like the fact that they have to kind of stay the same and they can't move up because of the SEC and Big Ten now. But I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate that. I would like it better than what we're headed to.
I think everybody would. My only thing would be how, now that Texas, like programs like Texas and Oklahoma, now that they've gotten their way and can go play with teams that they view to be on the same level as them, how would that work? Saying, okay, you got this, you're going to go over here. Now you got to come back to everybody you look down upon and ran away from.
Well, look, again, this is going to be 6, 7, 8 years down the line, if not a decade, before it gets done, because of the existing TV contract. So maybe at that point, I'll tell you, most of the schools, especially the ones who are going coast to, like Stanford, USC, like the California, the ACC and former Pac schools that are now just traversing the country. Like, even Big 12, like, how many times are you going to go to UCF and play softball if you're Colorado? Like, it's just, like, those things are going to wear on athletic departments. They're going to wear on them, and
especially like if you have to go, like you mentioned UCF and Colorado there, but if you're one of the teams that has to, we always hear about going to Morgantown and how much of a hassle it is because you got to fly into Pittsburgh and drive down. So yeah, like that's going to take a toll on these programs.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I would do, because the FCS schools are going to hurt in this because the guarantee games will be gone.
Yes.
Gone. Which I believe they should be.
They should be.
But I don't want those programs to lose money. So here's what you do. And I've said this on the show before. You play them in the spring.
Thank you.
You have controlled scrimmages against another team in the spring, and that's where Baylor can play Tarleton, and SFA can go play Houston, and all of those. Well, SFA's up now, but or on their way up.
Right.
Just like Sam Houston on their way up now. But you can have those games in the spring where you play each other and make a spring football game more worth it for everybody.
Well, I mean, I think a prime example is what happened here last year, right? Like, Baylor had their spring game and everybody looked good. Like, the defense was making plays and everything. But what they didn't understand was the offensive line wasn't equipped to play at this level, it seemed like at times. So all of that would be fixed by actually playing against somebody else and being able to kind of check in, just like checking boxes, checks and balances against another program. And then, like, that probably couldn't have happened. You could have identified an issue, handled it through the transfer portal that's going to open up. And I think it could have benefited a program like Baylor last year if that would have been the case, that you scrimmaged somebody beside yourself.
Yeah. All right, just a couple things, then we'll take another break. From Kim Coulter, I think he means there can't be rational thought allowed where the SEC and Big Ten are concerned. They must control you because you are inferior. You must not succeed, nor shall you be equal. And yes, that is corporate overlord behavior. That is what that is. So, Yeah, I like that, Kim. Okay. Adam McDonald, I'm going to answer 2 of your questions here.
Okay.
He's just got them coming so fast, but I'm doing my best. He asked about would G5 teams be in? Yes, 10 of them would be, and the 10 would be revolving based on promotion and relegation. That's how it works. So there would be 10, and those 10 would not necessarily be permanent unless, nobody earned promotion and nobody, but that's not how it works. Like even in soccer every year, but like unless, nobody hit those benchmarks, but probably, every year there's going to be a team up and a team down. And so you can move up and down. It allows people to separate anyway. So no G5s are protected from relegation. None of those teams that are in that 10. The 70 teams, which would be essentially the Power 5 conferences in their old form. Like anybody who's a Power 5 conference or in a Power 5 conference right now, anybody in a Power 5 conference right now, or who was just, and that includes Washington State and Oregon State.
They'd benefit the most.
They'd benefit them huge. Would be in it now because they were part of it, and then SMU and Notre Dame.
Yep.
So those 68 teams, and then the other 2, and then 10 of them like that. And what happens to the FBS? In FBS, I'll answer that by who cares? If you do this, who cares?
Yeah.
FCS is still going to be FCS. They're still going to have their playoffs. They're still going to do that. FBS, football bowl, do whatever you want. I don't care if the playoffs are better and we still have some bowl games. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care. Make the bowl games make sense. Also, I would put the bowl games, if you want a 13th game, to me, I would play the bowl games first now.
Like before the playoff?
Yeah. So, if you get a bowl game, then that means that you're going to play this team at the first game next year.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Just like the Super Bowl does with the matchups and re-up.
Yeah. So if you had a bowl game benchmark, instead of doing it in December, make the focus on the playoff in December.
Right.
And then, or if you're going to do it, if you're not going to be in the playoff, then, the bowl games are going to be right here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when there's no other football on, and it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that one needs a little, So, yeah.
One thing I did like, going back to Marchand, was when he was talking about the benefits of programs and how, if you have a good season, using Colorado as an example, I think that would play well in the Big 12 where there's so much parity that you would have I think you would have multiple teams year in and year out rise to that. I think that would be fun. I think you would see a lot of Oklahoma State could really benefit of that because they're always in the mix, but they're just on the cusp. But if they could get benefit for the success they have, I think that they're a program in particular I think could really help from that performance-based boost you would get.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. All right, let's take a break right here.